We ready? We are ready.
Hold up. Do you see that right there? Go back, go back. No, too far. You see this moment? This moment right here. Well, you might not know it, but this isn't just the gender reveal. This is the moment you need to start saving for college. Let's get to work. What's up, guys? I'm Kay Scholl. Welcome to another financial awareness video. In this video today, we're going to talk about how to save for college. 529 plans, educational savings accounts, ESAs, custodial accounts, and saving and investing for your new baby. If you want to know how much you should be saving for your kid's college, then you're going to want to go ahead and watch all the way through to the end. Okay, we're not going to harp on this too much, but obviously leading up to the delivery of your new baby, you're going to want to make sure you're fully aware of all the hospital costs. Natural delivery versus C-section. Will you be getting an epidural? Are there any anesthesia costs? What will the insurance company provide? What will you have to cover out of pocket? How much time are you going to be taking off of work? All that good stuff. But once you have a good idea around insurance and those hospital costs, your focus is going to need to shift over towards college planning. To address the elephant in the room, no, college isn't for everyone. There have been many successful entrepreneurs that have created businesses, a service, or a product without the large sums of debt that comes with the formal college experience. Also, trade schools are a great way to learn a new trade or skill. And if that is the route you think your child might go, then you won't need to save nearly as much money as a full 4-year public university, such as the example I go over at the end of the video. Okay, so how do you save for college? Well, it's actually pretty easy. You make a budget, you live below your expenses, and you save and invest the difference. That's it. Boom, done. Video over. I appreciate your time. See you in the next one. Okay, well, there's a little more to it than that. First off, you can't even open up some of these accounts until your baby has a social security number, which does take some time for that to arrive in the mail. So you've got some time to watch this video and do a little bit more research on what you think is in your best interest. However, that doesn't mean you shouldn't start saving. The earlier, the better. So what options do you have? Well, you got the educational savings account called ESAs. You've got custodial accounts. You can go the prepaid route if you want to, but by far the most common is the 529 savings plan. Let's dive into each one a little bit. Hold on, time out. Although this video will be covering the topic of how to save for college from such a young age, you should know that there are some pretty awesome ways you could pay for college without saving up for it. Your kid can work through school to help pay for tuition, books, room and board, living expenses. Shoot, they could live at home and work through school, and then you as the parent, you could just simply help cash flow those expenses when they happen. Your child can join the military, complete their years of service, then use the GI Bill to help cover some of the college expenses. Your child can apply for scholarships and grants and help pay for part or all of school that way. And what if your kid grows up and decides they want to go to a trade school, like I mentioned a moment ago, or does a school work program? Those can much more easily be cash flowed than the cost of a full 4-year undergraduate degree plus an additional 1 to 2 years of potential graduate school. Listen, just to share a little personal story with you, I am the second oldest of 4 boys. God bless my mom. My oldest brother and myself graduated with student loan debt. We both worked through school a little bit, but then our younger brother, he went to a community college for a couple years, then transferred his credits over. He graduated with a little bit of debt, but not nearly as much as we did. And then our youngest brother is the smartest one of all of us because he worked through school, got scholarships, got grants, and he was the best one of all of us because he graduated completely debt-free. So it is absolutely possible. The best thing that you can do as a parent is to openly discuss money with your children. Don't be shy about it as they are maturing and growing up in age and expressing a little bit of interest in what you're doing, whether it's the budget or paying bills. Let them know what's going on, and as they are learning and growing and showing some signs of maturity, start to openly discuss how much things cost, because one of the highest indicators of people going into debt is the college that they choose and their lifestyle while they are actually in school. So many people take out student loans to pay for a super expensive school when they could have gotten that same degree at a different school right down the road. Or you don't have to stay at the most expensive apartment or off-campus housing. You can certainly have a more frugal mindset while your child is in school. But as the parent, you need to coach them up a little bit and explain to them that you can arrive at the same outcome of getting a full 4-year degree without the cost that comes with the traditional college experience. With an ESA, educational savings account, you could put up to $2,000 a year into it, and you do have a pretty broad list of investment options. But as I mentioned in my previous video, you have to start this investing journey with why, and then you have to reverse engineer these numbers to see what is the appropriate amount of money you should be saving based on your goals of how much of your child's college expenses you as the parent you want to help cash flow and save for. Some parents fall under the spectrum of they want to pay for 100% of the cost. Other parents fall on the spectrum of they don't want to pay for any of it, and this is entirely up to their child. And then a lot of folks naturally are somewhere in the middle, and depending on where you fall on that spectrum, $2,000 per year might not be enough for your goals and objectives. Just saying. Stick around to the end of the video for an example of how much you should be saving. Oh, and by the way, and if you are married filing jointly and as a household you make more than $190,000 a year, or if you are a single parent and you file as a single taxpayer and you make over $110,000 a year, you won't be able to put the full $2,000 into this ESA, and you will eventually be phased out, income phased out, shortly over those amounts that I mentioned a minute ago, the 190 and the 110 respectively. So if your goals are to save for more than $2,000 per year, or if you make too much money, then an educational savings account might not be the right one for you. Let's talk about custodial accounts. What's a custodial account? There are two basic types of custodial accounts, UTMAs and UGMAs, the UTMA and the UGMA, the Uniform Transfer to Minors Act and the Uniform Gift to Minors Act. UGMAs are the older version of these two options, and you could pretty much hold nearly any stock market asset in them. But both UGMAs and UTMAs have no income limitations and no contribution limits, so that's nice. With UTMAs, UTMAs, you have a much larger variety of what you actually can put in these accounts, such as real estate, intellectual property, and works of art. But as it relates to the scope of this video, yeah, not too many parents I know are stuffing works of art into an UTMA account for their child to liquidate and use for college. Additionally, as it relates to taxes of these custodial accounts, they do not grow tax deferred. And while your child is between the age of 19 and 24, and still being claimed as a dependent on your tax return, the parent's tax return, then there are some tax benefits, primarily if the child has $1,050 of unearned income, then that first $1,050 is taxed at 0%. And then the next $1,050 is taxed at 10%. But anything above $2,100 is taxed at the parent's tax rate, your tax rate. Let me be the first one to tell you, if you haven't done the math already, you're going to be pulling out more than $2,100 per year to help pay and cash flow for your child's college expenses. So there's that. Lastly, this is just a personal thing to me. You might feel maybe a little bit different, but the ownership of these custodial accounts legally and contractually are transferred over to your child once they arrive at a certain age. And in my state where I live, that age is 25. Now, when you and I were 25 years old, maybe we were making some wise and smart financial decisions, but I don't know, it just rubs me the wrong way a little bit to think that no matter what happens in my daughter's life or in my life, this money is legally theirs at 25. Just doesn't sit with me too well. And then on top of that, I'm not really a huge fan of the lack of tax benefits with these custodial accounts. Okay, shifting gears here, let's talk about prepaid college tuition accounts. I'll tell you right from the jump, yes, my parents did have some prepaid tuition set aside for me, and I have personally benefited from this, so thanks, Mom and Dad. But I'm not a fan of prepaid tuition, and here's why. Yes, you are prepaying the cost of tuition in today's dollars, and you are locking in that rate. However, the rate of return that you get on this prepaid tuition is none other than simply the college tuition inflation rate and how much they are increasing the cost of college by over the time period that you are prepaying the tuition. And honestly, if you have any financial maturity and the ability to dollar cost average into an investment account over 7, 10, 15, or 20 years, then I think you can get a much better rate of return by actually investing this money over a long-term time horizon. Another reason why I'm not too keen on prepaid college is the fact that the prepaid college tuition is typically only able to be used for in-state public universities. And if your child decides to go to either a private university or a public university in another state, then yes, the money that you put into that account will transfer over, but it will only transfer over based on the amount that you actually put in, which means you've lost out on all of those years of potential growth of growing those contributions that you are making, which sucks. So if you have already selected and you're already doing the prepaid college tuition route for your child, just know that you are doing a great job, because honestly, something is way better than doing nothing. But just know that that might not cover all of the expenses that your child might incur while they are in school, and your child might have to still apply for scholarships and grants or work through school, or maybe do 2 years at a community college and 2 years at a public university. Or worst case scenario, despite your best efforts, your child still might have to get some student loans to get through school. By far, the most common way to save for college is through the College Savings 529 plan, and that is how we have decided to save and invest for our daughters' future college expenses. There are no income limitations for College Savings 529 plans, but you are capped at an annual contribution limit of $15,000 per year, which is the annual gift tax limit. So mom can contribute $15,000 into the 529, dad can contribute $15,000 into the 529. Shoot, even grandma and grandpa can join the party and they can contribute money into the 529 as well. As these funds are contributed into the 529, they're going to grow tax deferred. But in all reality, as long as you pull the money out and spend that money on qualified higher education related expenses, then really this account is growing tax-free because your qualified withdrawals will be coming out tax-free. Well, you can use 529 accounts for up to $10,000 worth of tuition if you have to pay private school or some sort of tuition for your child to go through K through 12, kindergarten through 12th grade. Up to $10,000 per year is a qualified withdrawal from a 529 as long as it's spent on K through 12 tuition. You can also use 529 funds tax-free on college tuition, room and board, whether it's on campus or off campus. We'll get into that in a minute, and that does include some food and meal plan costs as well, technology items, and books and supplies. The tuition part is pretty straightforward, but as room and board goes, you're gonna wanna consult directly with the school that you are selecting. You wanna go to their website and see what they are estimating for room and board, because the amount of money that they estimate on their website, that's the maximum that you're allowed to spend on a qualified expense for those items. So if your kid is going to live off campus, then the amount of money that you could spend on housing will be dictated by what that university's website says is the average for that area. Same with food or meal plans. The amount of money that you can pull from the 529 tax-free and have it be a qualified eligible expense is based on what the school's website says as the average food costs are, and that's what you're capped at as an eligible expense for food. Okay, moving on from there, there are some other great reasons why I like the College Savings 529 plans over some of these other options, and here's a brief list. In the event you are watching this video in a state in America that has state income taxes, then you're gonna wanna consult and look at your state's College 529 website, because with many of these states, if you contribute into their state 529 plan, then that will be a deduction against your state income taxes. So you put the money in, it's a deduction against your state income taxes. It's going to grow tax deferred, but as long as you pull that money out and use it as a qualified expense, then it's really tax-free money. You also are going to be very likely investing this money that's inside of the 529 plan. You're not just going to put it in there and keep it in cash. And as long as you have a somewhat balanced or aggressive asset allocation of what you invest the money in, then in my opinion, over a long enough time horizon, you're going to get a much better rate of return on your 529 compared to a college prepaid account. So now the conversation is shifting a little bit towards the style of investing that most aligns with your risk appetite or risk tolerance, because generally speaking, the longer the time horizon you have from the time you make the contribution to the time that you pull the money out and need to start liquidating from this account, the more time you have, the more aggressive you can be. So as long as you can take a balanced or aggressive approach and take more risk, you increase the probability of getting a higher and better rate of return. Conversely, if you waited like 15 years before you got some of this stuff going because you were too focused on paying off your debt or your own personal financial goals or retirement, for example, if you were too focused on those items, then you're going to want to factor that into consideration, because if you only have like 3 years to invest before you need to start liquidating money out of this college savings 529 plan, then you're going to want to take that into consideration when you select how you want this money invested. Here's a pro tip for you if you've got the financial means to do this, and maybe you're one of those folks that are income phased out that I mentioned a moment ago from the ESA, whether you are single making a lot of money or you are a dual income household and married filing jointly, you're doing great. Then in addition to contributing money into the 529, you might want to consider tucking some other money aside as well and purchasing an off-campus, maybe 2 or 3 bedroom home in the name of an LLC that you create. Then in the college 529 plan that's in your personal name, you withdraw the amount of money up to the maximum that the school website says you're allowed to take out for housing, and you use that tax-free growth money to help pay for the mortgage of this home that you now own in the LLC that you created. And then the other 1 to 2 roommates that are living in the house that you are collecting rent from, you could really use that money for just about anything. You could help cash flow your son or daughter's college education needs. You could use that money to pay down that mortgage even earlier, or really just about anything your heart desires. Imagine 4 years of cash flow like that, plus all of the accounting and depreciation benefits of doing something like that, aka driving up to go check on the property and deducting those mileage. There's so many different creative things that you can do with this, but imagine 4 years of that type of cash flow, plus sprinkle on top, maybe, hopefully, a little bit of appreciation in the value of the home. Then after 4 years are over or longer, you've got the option of selling the home and paying long-term capital gains taxes on the growth, or keeping the home as part of your rental real estate investment portfolio. Back when I was a financial advisor for over 8 years, one of the most frequently asked questions that I would get would be, how much should I be saving for my kids' college? So let's talk about that. The answer really does depend on your belief as a parent of how much of your child's college costs you want to cover, because as I mentioned earlier in the video, some parents want to cover all of the cost, some parents want to cover none of it, and a lot of people fall somewhere in between. So let's just run through an example real quick. Let's just hypothetically say that I wanted to cover 100% of the cost of just one of my daughters. Here's what that would look like. I've got some notes here. I'm going to read my notes. Let's just say that in-state tuition would be $21,578 per year. This amount inflated 18 years from right now would be $36,735 per year. So for 4 years worth of undergraduate expenses would be $146,940. So how much would you need to be investing now per month to arrive at $147,000 18 years from right now? That amount would be, wait for it, $342 per month. $342 might be a lot for some people, but depending on what your income level is, that seems very doable and reasonable. For other people that maybe don't have the means, that could be a lot. However, if you start early and you have 18 years or more, or maybe family helps and pitches in a little bit, maybe you can only cover $200 a month, which is $2,400 per year, and then maybe family kicks in a little bit more, I think you'll realize this is actually a lot more achievable than you think. Oh my goodness, look at these brand new parents. They're just kids. Can you see how well rested they are? Getting plenty of sleep, can still go out and see their friends whenever they want, do whatever they want, or go anywhere because there isn't a kid sleeping down the hall. Oh man, life before kids. Good times. Yeah, my cousin has way more hair than me. If you already have a college savings 529 plan and want to learn a little bit more about when to rebalance that account, then check out this video right here. If you have any questions for me, let me know in the comments down below. I appreciate your time. See you in the next one.